Hi there, ladies. This is Erin Harrison with Keeper of the Homestead, and this is my special co-host today. This is Owen Newman from Tennessee. He lives about an hour away, and he's going to give us some encouragement. I thought I'd run this little special here since we've been talking about homemaking and hospitality. And Owen has quite a bit to say about that because he grew up in a different era and he's seen the evolution of homemaking, and he's also seen the deterioration of it in our present culture. And he grew up with a grandmother who was a really good homemaker and exercised that wonderful gift of hospitality.
Both my grandmothers were.
And they did hospitality,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And now he
Yeah.
and his wife, they're very hospitable people. So many times, if you're coming into their home, first thing he does is, welcome, come, have a seat. And he brings you tea, and they bring you little cookies that Evie's made, and they're just so hospitable. So they make you feel so warm and welcome. So that's why I wanted to have him on here, because being a man, you know, it's nice to see a male's perspective of what a man thinks about hospitality and how important it is to a husband and to a man. So take it away, Owen.
Okay, well, my dad's side of the family, my grandmother, was full blooded Swedish. And part of the Swedish tradition was that nobody, when they came to your house, you always had something for them. They never went away without something. It was coffee and whatever she had. You know. And even on my mother's side of the family, there was hospitality because my grandmother, her parents, came from Europe. My dad's mother's folks came from Sweden. So it was very, very strong in them to take and be hospitable. That's just part of their culture. I know with my grandmother, like I say, she always had, Swedes like sweet stuff. You know, my grandmother always had sweet stuff around. My dad was terrible with it. He had several pieces of pastry around and stashes of candy all over the house. And so we kind of learned at an early age that when people came to your house, you treated them decently. You gave them coffee. You gave them whatever, cookies, cake, donuts, whatever you had. You know, that was just the way it was. And it had been that way for hundreds of years. You know.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's what we grew up with. But we've seen that, you know. When Evie and I, and it's funny because we've been talking with other people I have this last week about this. That when Evie and I grew up, we were both born in the 1940s. In the 1950s, you know, in that time, this stuff was sort of standard. You did stuff like this. A lot of things were being taught. In the 1950s, that all quit.
Really?
Yes, 1950s,
so that
everything
was kind
changed.
of a turning point.
That was a
in
turning
history.
point. Everything changed. I mean, drastically. In 10 years, there was a complete change of things.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that early.
Yeah. My mother worked all the time. I don't know whether she worked because they felt they needed to have the money or what it was. But when we come home from school, there was nobody there, you know. Especially in high school, we were supposed to, one day I was supposed to take care of the breakfast dishes, cleaning up and everything, and get supper started. And then the next day was supposed to be my sister, and then the third day, my brother was at least supposed to take and do the dishes and stuff. Well, my sister would never come home till, you know, 10 o'clock at night. Who knows where she was at. And she wound up getting pregnant and in high school, and got married right out of high school. And of course, she's the exception to the rule. She has stayed married all these years because all my sisters. Oh yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
They've been married over 50 years. All she's wanted to be is a housewife and a mother.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
And she had no, and it's amazing because that's what she's trying to do. And when her children were little, she did not work. She didn't start working until the children were high school. So you know what she grew up with, she kind of passed on to her kids, even though that she didn't take and do it herself. When my brother came home, He changed clothes and down the road he'd go. I chased my brother more times than I care to remember. And that little kid could run like a deer. When he was in high school, he was a track star, and he never once thanked me for the training I gave him. You know, so then it was left to me to do it. Now, if it wasn't done, they didn't get punished because they didn't do their chores. I got punished because I didn't do their chores.
Really?
Yeah. Right. And I got to where I hated washing dishes so much. It was probably 25 or 30 years after I left home before I could wash another dish. I'm serious.
You were traumatized by washing dishes.
Oh, absolutely. That was, you have no idea. I wanted my parents. Well, we didn't have it. They were so busy working to take and provide this lifestyle that we never had our parents. My dad never did anything with me.
So your mother wasn't as much of a homemaker as your grandmothers were.
No, she was not. She did the best that she could. My mother her house was always neat and clean, but my mother didn't do any canning. She had done some baking, but there wasn't a lot of that. Although my mother both my parents were excellent cooks. I mean, fantastic cooks.
Really?
Oh yeah.
But she did work outside the home?
She worked out. She was a drugstore clerk her whole life.
And how did that make you feel? Like that your mother worked outside of the home? Because my mother worked outside of the home too as a nurse.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't really remember it that much because she would have me at another home like for babysitting. And then when it was time for me to go to school, I was in public school, and so I was always gone when she was working. So when I came home, she always had a meal prepared for us every night. So I didn't really feel the effects of it as much as some people did, but did you feel like it affected your life?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Really?
I've been cooking since I was 9 years old. If I wanted breakfast, I had to cook my own breakfast.
Really?
Yes.
So your mother wouldn't cook for you?
Not for breakfast, no. She was getting ready to go to work.
I see.
And a lot of times I remember she worked a lot in the evenings because that way she would be at home. This is when we were smaller. And then when Dad came home, then she'd go to work.
Really?
But one of the most traumatizing things I ever had occurred during that time. Because my dad was going to take her to work, and he called us kids, and I had been up the block, and I run down there, because I was wanted to take and go along. Well, I got there just as they were pulling away.
Really?
And I ran after that car for a quarter of a mile, screaming my head off.
What were you screaming?
Stop, pick me up. I wanted to go with them.
You wanted to go with who?
The family, because my dad took my brother, my sister, everybody would go to take my mother to work.
Oh, and you wanted to go along.
Sure, but
Aw.
I just got there, my dad took off.
Oh.
And I'm running behind this car for at least a quarter of a mile, yelling and screaming to take and pick me up, to stop and pick me up, and they just kept running and left me behind.
Wow.
That affected me my whole life until about 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
And I did not realize it had affected me that much. And God finally opened my eyes to show me that I had this feeling within me that I was always being left behind. Everybody was leaving me behind.
It's amazing though, isn't it, how much those formative years, the years that a child is growing from an infant to an adult, those years are so critical. I've met so many people that are trapped in those years.
Yeah.
They have had something traumatizing happen to them in the formative years.
Yeah.
That's why it's so vitally important. And I think even if it is a sacrifice, to stay home with your children and things and be with them, I think it's really important to do whatever you can to be there for them, because like look at him in his whole life. He carried the weight of that that feeling and that traumatic experience with him his whole life. And in fact, there was a neighbor, a neighbor's ex-husband. I was listening to a story about him. He hung himself about a week ago, and it was very sad. I was praying with my neighbor lady, and she was crying and saying, "Oh, it was because he had carried something from his childhood. His mother and father had left him with his aunt to raise him, and they felt it was too much of a burden. So he was raised in a really loving home, but he was young, maybe 7 or 8 years old, but he never forgot that. And he always felt that rejection in his life. And some of these rejections that children feel when they're young, only God can heal those things. And he didn't maybe have a relationship with God, so I think that was part of the reason why it haunted him so much. But that was actually the reason why it was in the letter that he left before he killed himself. He said he couldn't take it anymore, living with that feeling of rejection that his parents didn't want him.
Well, I know of an instance where a woman had a daughter. It was her oldest daughter, and her oldest daughter was like the ugly duckling. And her older daughter did have some emotional problems that really need to be dealt with. But instead of doing that, she turned her over, put her in the system in foster care, and signed her away. That daughter today has, as an adult, she's almost 30 years old. I don't know how many men she's been with. I don't know. She's had kids from this guy, this guy, this guy. Her life is a mess because of the rejection that she's had from her mother.
Yeah, these are deep-seated things. So it really does start in the home, doesn't it? And
it does. It does.
It's really important that the parent-child relationship is very critical. You would agree.
I wish that my mother had stayed home. It would have been so nice to come home and there's mom, and she's fixing supper or she's baking bread or something.
Yes.
You know.
So and then you married Evie, and then you, and she stayed home with.
Oh yeah, Evie is well for a while she did work out, but I felt that God did not want her to do that. God wanted her to stay home, and of course she felt that she had to. So I prayed about it. God said, "Let her go. She's not listening to me either." So she went out to work for this outfit, and they fired her. That hurt her so bad to be fired from that job. She never worked from that day on.
Wow.
Never
but
worked outside.
She's been home, and she does all of her homemaking things, and it actually is really relaxing. I know my husband enjoys coming home to a warm meal after a long day of hard work, and just the hospitality that he comes home to makes him feel more special. And everybody feels calm, you know, like the kids, they love to come home and see mom in the kitchen and smell the warm food cooking.
Yep, that's right.
And all the spices.
You have no idea. The best thing that you can give your children is yourself.
Yes.
And I don't care what kind of a lifestyle you want to provide for your children, it will never, never replace you.
No.
Your children need you. They don't need lifestyle. They don't need the latest fashion and clothes. They don't need the latest type of phone, Xbox or whatever is the fad at the time. They need you. They don't need lifestyle.
No.
You know, and it just things were terrible. You know, and there was modesty back then. I know when I was in high school, they had a dress code. There was a certain way that you were supposed to dress. There was no shorts. There was the way kids dress in school today never would have gone over in our day. No, there was a dress code. A lot of the boys had white shirts and ties, sport coats, and slacks. We were never rich enough to afford that. I had to wear khaki work pants and you know, hand-me-down shirts from when my maternal grandfather died, and boots. That's what I had to wear because that's all we could afford. You know. And if I know they tried to give Dad some flack on that. My dad flat out told him, "You want to dress like that? You buy their clothes. I can't."
Yeah.
And so that ended that. So, but you know, so that I was always on the outside. But you know, there was modesty. Women had modest clothes. They didn't take and bare themselves all over the place.
And the women were in the home, more or less.
They were in the home, right?
So like you had grandparents, your grandmothers were in the home, and you remember. Do you have some warm memories? Can you share some warm memories?
Oh, I wish my maternal grandmother. I wish I'd spent more time with her to learn from her, because my mother was born on a gold claim on the Canadian border.
Wow.
I can truly say I come from pioneer stock.
A piece of American history, no doubt.
My grandmother told me that when they were first married, they lived in North Dakota. She could see my grandfather coming an hour before he arrived home.
She could?
Yeah.
Because it was so
flat.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. You know, but the things that she if I had known the questions asked, I could have learned so much. There's things that she did, like she never canned green beans. For her, it was yellow beans, wax beans. I hardly ever saw a green bean in our house. It was yellow wax beans. Simple food like pig's feet and cabbage. I don't know what there's to eat on a pig's foot, but I couldn't.
But that was a part of.
Yeah, that was part of their culture. Used everything back then. Everything was used. You didn't let anything go to waste.
Right. They were very resourceful.
Very resourceful. See, they grew up poor. They grew up. Pioneer stock. They lived up in the woods.
Right. Exactly.
It was a country that you had. I have a picture of the log house that they lived in. Both my grandparents are there. One of my great aunts, my grandmother's sister, and she's holding my mother, who was 2 years old at the time. My mother's 2 older sisters, and leaned up against this log house is a double-barreled shotgun.
Wow.
You had to do that. That's back in 1915, I believe it was, something like that. My dad was born in 1917. My grandfather owned a 2-story hotel on 5 acres of ground. It had a barn with a milk cow, a horse and a buggy, and a chicken coop full of chickens. My grandfather paid $2,000 for the whole business.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's where my dad was born. And that building is still being lived in today. It's just things like that.
But the warm memory of coming into Grandma's house.
See, there's my grandmother, my dad's mother could make the best donuts. Oh man, you come in that house and smell that, and you just, you'd have to have been a terribly strong person to not eat one of those donuts. I'll tell you that.
I bet.
But there was always something in Grandma's house that it smelled good. The houses had a distinct smell. They smelled good. You could smell something good in my grandmother's house. It was meals around the table. Yeah. My maternal grandmother's house, even when they lived in the city, it smelled like a farmhouse. That good farmhouse smell.
Oh yeah.
They didn't eat fancy food, but they ate good food.
Right.
And a lot of it.
Sure
they were hard workers. Neither side was drinkers. Or they didn't drink, they didn't use tobacco. Well,
really?
I gotta go back to that. My grandfather chewed tobacco from the age of 7 until he died in his 90s.
Wow.
But he was a gentleman. He never would spit around every place. I do not remember seeing my grandfather ever spit. I don't know what he did with it. But he was always respectful. He was always dressed nice.
Did they come to the table in the evenings dressed nice?
Oh yeah. You didn't find them coming to the table dressed sloppy. No. You were dressed nice.
Yeah.
Now one thing that I noticed that my grandfather always saucered his coffee.
What's that?
They would pour the hot coffee in a saucer and blow on it and then drink it.
In the saucer?
In the saucer.
Oh, because he wanted to drink it quicker and then...
No, if the coffee was hot, they would pour it into the saucer and cool it, blow on it to cool it down and then drink it.
Oh, I see. Oh, maybe that's why there are saucers.
Believe it or not, if you will take and read some etiquette books back from the 1800s when they were growing up, that was etiquette. That was proper etiquette.
To pour it into the saucer?
To put it in the saucer and cool it to drink it, yes.
And then you'd pour it back into the cup? Or
no, you drink it out of the saucer.
You drink out of the saucer?
Yeah, well, I don't know about pouring it back in the cup, but he always drank it out of the saucer.
Well, that's
and also, if you see silverware from back then, the butter knives were wide like this. I found out why.
Why?
They would eat with the knife. Instead of a fork, they would take and use the knife to eat with.
Really?
Like a spoon, yeah. That's why it was that way.
Wow, that is super
there's all kinds of stuff like that,
Well, another question I have is, as a man, as a husband, and a father that you are, and grandfather, what are your viewpoints on women embracing hospitality and do you think it's a paramount in the Christian faith?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Because it tells us to be hospitable, because it says some people doing that have entertained angels unawares. We don't know.
Oh, yeah. It's true.
When you come to somebody's house and you're treated nice and they give you a cup of tea or coffee and they set out something, you feel welcome. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, you really do.
But if they come there and you just treat them like you wish they'd go away, you don't want to come back again.
No.
See, we're representatives of a loving God. And if we don't take and show forth that love ourselves, then what? They're not going to see Him.
No, that's
You know,
we are His hands and feet.
If we'd like to take and get a better house than we have, a bigger house. I want a couple of extra rooms for bedrooms, simply so that I want a big kitchen. A nice big kitchen.
Yeah.
So we got a table like this and we can set people around it and people can relax and just feel at home. That was the thing about my maternal, both grandparents' places. More so my maternal grandparents' place. When you went there, you felt at home. You felt comfortable there.
Oh, that's
and
so good.
That's why I want to feel when I go to somebody's house, like they enjoy my company. And they're glad to see me.
I feel that way when I go to your house. I always feel very welcome there.
Thank you.
You just want to pull up a chair and they make you feel so cozy and warm inside. Just, I mean, they offer you what they have. And they're not real affluent people. They don't have, but they have so much love to give. And they have so much of the things that matter in life to share with you. And it's just so nice to be able to know you guys and to be able to be
Thank you very much.
Family with you.
We're just trying to take and do what we're supposed to do. Really.
Well, I think you've
and we enjoy people. We like people.
Yeah.
We don't care whether they got half a dozen kids or not. We're prepared for that too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We got baskets of toys for little ones to play with.
Oh, it's so sweet.
And children like coming to our place. They really do, because Evie's a doll maker also. And the girls really like that, those dolls.
They sure do. And Evie's so good with little ones.
Boy, we got one little boy in our church. Cute little guy. He's only like 3-4 months old. His name is Gabe. And he's just a chubby little guy. And we kind of act like grandparents towards him, because his grandparents are all in another state. Anyhow, if I'm holding him and he starts to fuss, I just hand him to Evie. And every time we're just going to look over, and there he is. He's out like a light.
Oh, he just feels so comfortable.
Oh yeah, she does that all the time.
She does.
Little ones will just take it and feel so unless there's something really bothering them, they just feel comfortable in her arms.
Oh, I'm sure they do. And that's wonderful.
We enjoy little children. We enjoy children immensely. They're a lot of fun.
They surely are.
Yeah, and babies are so special.
They really are.
But she talks about us being parents and grandparents. Evie and I have never had children ourselves, so we've had to borrow children and grandparents.
And that's why we borrowed them. Yeah. That's why we adopted them into our family. Yeah. And we've enjoyed, I try to go on at least, like once a month or once every other month. I mean, it's hard because it's a little bit far away, but I try to get you guys over here for a meal. Yeah. I like to have them over for a meal. And then if I'm passing through town over there, I go and I visit them.
We've seen the kids grow up from children to young adults.
And you're like a grandfather to them. So it's so
I find out that Junior talks about me all the time.
He does. He does.
Wow, he's a neat kid. He is so neat.
You're a neat person too. You've influenced the family quite a bit. We love having you around. So it's been just so wonderful to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
It's been very encouraging. And I wanted to tell you all that the next time I have him on, what are you gonna share about the next time?
Probably
what are you gonna talk about?
Called EDC.
What's that?
Everyday Carry.
Everyday Carry.
Yes, and I'll explain it next time.
Okay, well that makes it a curiosity for all of us. We're on the edge of our seats, right? So thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll just leave. Would you please say a little prayer for our ladies that are watching?
Father, we come to you in Jesus' name, cover this shed blood. Father, we know that your word tells us the way we're supposed to act. Father, you created this world, and you know how it runs best. You know how everything works the way it's supposed to work, and we need to take and learn how to follow your rules. Father, there's many women today, because of the culture we're in, who would have a hard time being what you want them to be. But Father, we pray that you'd give them that grace, that you'd raise up elder women, Father, to teach them how to behave, to be keepers of the home, to love their husbands and take care of their children. The home is the woman's castle. That's her territory. Yeah. She's the one that decides what kind of an atmosphere is in the home. Is it going to be a place where her husband and children come to live and enjoy, or is it a place where they just stay away from as much as possible. Father, help each woman that's listening today to make her home such a place of comfort for her family that they rise up and call her blessed. And we
Yes.
thank you in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we can't wait to have Owen on again for another special, and we'll learn a lot more from him. Thank you, and God bless. Bye-bye.